Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Visionary Awards. I'm Janet Schulman, Southern California Leadership Network Board Chair. It's truly an honor to be with all of you as we celebrate extraordinary leaders who tirelessly work to lift their communities. In a few moments, you will hear from Maria Salinas, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, and SCLN Senior Managing Director, Aaron Tenenbaum. Then, please sit back and listen to the leadership stories and insights from our honorees. We hope you will be inspired to take action. Our region and nation needs leaders like all of you in order to make our shared future brighter. Over the last year, our communities faced overwhelming challenges. Now that 2021 is almost over, one thing is clear. The challenges faced highlighted the resilience, courage, opportunity, and growth, not only for our communities, but also for the Southern California Leadership Network fellows and alumni. It's why we are emboldened about our region's future and further proves that positive change and its lasting impact may be felt through effective leadership. I want to take a moment to give a very special thank you to the extraordinary SCLN Board of Directors, a remarkable group of people, and all of them SCLN alumni who have dedicated enormous amounts of time and expertise to ensure SCLN's success and to the development of compassionate, collaborative leadership in Southern California. It has been a pleasure working along such talented and committed leaders, and I want to recognize them for their hard work, their guidance, and their support. I also want to especially acknowledge our Visionary Awards Committee. Javier Angulo from Walmart, Andrea Collins from Charles Schwab, Diana Halper from Kaiser Permanente, Sarah Harden from Deloitte, Tricia Muse from Southern California Gas, and Scott Pansky from Allison and Partners. They all played a key role in helping to shape and execute today's events. I know you will join me in giving them all a virtual round of applause. The Visionary Awards not only supports SCLN's work, it helps to provide scholarships for underrepresented emerging leaders, helping them to gain the skills, knowledge, and network to successfully pursue professional and civic leadership roles. The funds raised today will ensure that SCLN continues to propel the voices critical for effective cross-sector collaboration and problem solving. Let's please take a moment to recognize the sponsors whose financial investments make our mission a reality. The 2021 collaborating sponsors are Our 2021 partner sponsors are the 2021 leader sponsors are Thank you to all of our generous sponsors for your investment in our region's emerging leaders. As a member of the board, I am so proud of the path we are on, and I invite you all to join us. I would love to share how you too can be part of this exciting time in our history. Your financial support is integral to SCLN's success. As a 501c3 nonprofit organization, SCLN relies on the generosity of individuals and corporations. You can pay it forward by clicking the donate button at the front of your screen or by scanning the QR code located in the middle of your screen. Last year's funds raised through Visionaries provided more than $40,000 in scholarships. Please help us exceed that goal this year. Second, if you haven't participated in an SCLN fellowship, you should and can. Or if you have participated, please fill your seat if you know someone who can benefit from one of our fellowships. Please tell them about us. Third, we're always looking to partner with businesses, foundations, and individuals as sponsors and hosts. SCLN is on the front lines of helping diverse, capable professionals rise to leadership roles. As a sponsor or host, you can actively support this very important work. If you are interested in demonstrating your commitment to regional leadership, please connect with an SCLN team member. Jessica Coronel, Lindsay Johnson, Colleen Menard, or Aaron Tenenbaum. You can do this during the mix and mingle or via the chat after the program. I am thrilled to be part of this movement, and I am deeply committed to making SCLN better than ever. I hope you will join me. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Maria Salinas, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you so much, Janet. It is wonderful to be with all of you. I'm a strong believer of the impactful work of SCLN, the Southern California Leadership Network. The Los Angeles region is dynamic, complex, and one of the most diverse in the nation. We have confronted many challenges this past year as we've navigated the pandemic. Yet, we still face issues that seem unsolvable, such as homelessness, equitable access to education, the expanding effects of climate change, and social injustices. The region today is in dire need of innovative, diverse, and resilient leaders who have the courage and will to collaborate to address our community's collective challenges. At the Chamber, we know that business is a force for good, and strong leadership is the first step. We are committed to civic leadership development through the work of SCLN. SCLN is the region's most inclusive, broad-reaching civic leadership training organization, focused squarely on supporting the development of informed, compassionate, creative, and cross-sector leaders. Since 1987, SCLN has equipped nearly 3,500 civic-minded individuals to create and lead informed solutions, addressing quality of life issues across Los Angeles, Southern California, and the state. SCLN alumni are exemplary individuals of business leaders, elected officials, and some of the most innovative nonprofit leaders in Southern California. Our world continues to evolve, and exceptional leaders will shape the future to create the world that works for the generations to come. SCLN provides this opportunity, preparing the exceptional leaders, leading with empathy, resiliency, and a spirit of collaboration. The time is now, a time for us to move forward towards an equitable, inclusive, and thriving region for all. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce Aaron Tenenbaum, Senior Managing Director of SCLN.
Thank you so much, Maria. We have a wonderful partnership with the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank Maria and the entire Chamber team for your collaboration today and every day. I've been with SCLN for 7 years, and I am so proud of how the organization continues to evolve. Over the last year, guided by our vision and mission, SCLN continued to reimagine our programming to help our fellows become transformational leaders in both their professional and civic careers. Today's event gives us a chance to celebrate that work. In 2021, we continued to deliver all 3 of our programs virtually to 95 professionals across the region. And through the application of practices such as mindfulness and self-awareness and approaches such as design thinking, SCLN prepared fellows to bridge silos, lead authentically, and advance human-centered solutions to some of our region's wicked problems. SCLN also implemented several programs for our alumni, including a 4-part series designed to help participants go beyond making diversity, equity, and inclusion a normal practice to becoming actively anti-racist. See for yourself the life-changing experience of SCLN.
We don't need to wait for our leaders to rebuild in LA into what we need it to be. We can in fact make the choice to be builders ourselves. And the city is not some amorphous object, but actually it's the people who inhabit it. So we are the city.
Our fellows are professionals from all different industries, backgrounds, sectors, geographies, with different perspectives who are looking to grow in their civic and professional careers.
And as a result of this unfaltering program, we continue to search for solutions and ideas. I truly believe that we can make positive change in the communities we serve and make them more equitable.
Welcome everybody to Leadership LA Class of 2021.
The things that you face at work are the same things we're going to be facing out in the community, and how can you change those?
What's the true problem? Like, why aren't we achieving these goals that we want to? Or like, where do we want to go?
I think as we went through along the way, our adaptive leadership groups also helped us.
It's about continuous improvement, building on what we do well today. These conversations are more important today than ever. And I'm hoping that you all as leaders will carry that with you to say, who's around this table? Is anyone missing?
We have the opportunity to impact healthy communities, affordable housing, economic equality, climate resilience, racial justice, youth leadership by really digging deep in our communities and lifting up community voice, because that really is the basis for change.
Well, at the end of our program, we want fellows to be better connected to individuals and organizations doing systems change work.
We all have opportunity to serve in dynamic and meaningful ways. After graduation, the opportunities are endless.
I'm so appreciative to SCLN for this opportunity for growth on topics we assume we know, but might be afraid to admit we need to work on.
Leadership LA has provided me a space where I can reflect on and determine my personal values, my mission statement, and the goals that I'd like to actualize.
And SCLN continues to inspire, prepare, and connect our alumni by providing civic engagement, continued learning, and networking opportunities.
To inspire them to get out there and engage in change that makes our region better for everyone.
Congratulations to all of you for choosing to become more informed, thoughtful, and engaged leaders through your participation in Leadership Southern California. Toast to you. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for teaching us. Thank you for leading the region forward.
Before we move forward, I'd like to recognize the SCLN team: Jessica Coronel, Lindsay Johnston, and Colleen Menard. They are a truly brilliant, creative, talented, and compassionate group of amazing women. I have never worked with such an incredible team, and I am privileged to work alongside each of you every day. I am now very excited to introduce our guest moderator, Giselle Fernandez, 5-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, executive editor, and anchor for Your Morning on Spectrum One News and LA Stories with Giselle Fernandez. We are so incredibly honored to have her with us today, and I want to thank her for her tireless reporting and for amplifying the voices of leaders who are shaping our region and are creating an impact throughout the community.
Thank you very much, Erin. Good afternoon, everyone. It is such an honor to be with all of you as together we celebrate dynamic leaders whose vision has inspired action and collaboration and who are making a significant impact on Southern California. You know, in my work, I get the opportunity to interview renowned leaders from around the world, and I think you will agree that Southern California is home to some of the most innovative, inspiring change agents in the world. And given the events of the last year and a half, there is no better time to focus our attention on those individuals who step forward in leadership roles, motivate people, and are champions of positive change who inspire great vision for our future. I'm so delighted to be here with you today to spotlight the future of Southern California and to honor its present community champions. So congratulations to all. Okay, so let's begin. Our first Visionaries Award honoree is Daria Allen Attar, Vice President, Financial Advisor, and Investing with Impact Director at Morgan Stanley and co-founder and CEO of the Women Founders Network, for her leadership in the advancement of women through provision of mentorship, access to all important capital, and connections for women entrepreneurs.
Women in the United States control a lot of money, 10 trillion. If these women control this capital, why do we have gender inequity? I'm Daria Allen Attar. I'm with Morgan Stanley. I'm an Investing with Impact Director at Morgan Stanley. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of the Women Founders Network. In my work at Morgan Stanley, which is my day job, I focus on making investments for clients who are values-oriented, who want to invest in companies that are leading on environmental, social, and governance factors. I'm CEO and co-founder of the Women Founders Network, and we really focus on helping women founders, female founders, build scalable companies. I was born in Iran, and I have a wonderful group of women who raised me. My mom was a young woman in Iran, got married very, very young, went to university when she had a baby, and she got a Fulbright scholarship to come to the United States. My mom, her sisters, and so many women that I've met along the way kind of individually have shown me the way. The money that women control is enough to change the world. And so why don't women change the world? We've had about 1,000 companies that have gone through the Women Founders Network process. You know, what makes me happy is when I look at our list of companies from the last almost decade, and I see that a remarkable number of our companies are doing great. Everybody in our own way, we've got to kind of get engaged on doing something that's beyond just our own little life. The great privilege that I've got is that I get to do something for my day job and my giving back project that both align with kind of my mission in the world. Oh my goodness, I love it. I am so grateful to receive this beautiful award from the Southern California Leadership Network. It's gorgeous. I love the image and I will cherish this forever. Thank you so very much.
Can't wait to speak with you, Daria, today on our panel. Our next Visionaries Award honoree is Michael A. Lawson. He is the Executive Director of the Los Angeles Urban League, for his leadership in ensuring underserved communities here in Los Angeles participate to the fullest extent in American life by helping to change the social and economic conditions of their environment.
We didn't get here on our own. Somebody we don't know sacrificed for us. And it's our obligation to pay that back. My name is Michael Lawson. I am the president and CEO of the Los Angeles Urban League. We have been in Los Angeles since 1921, so this is our centennial year. We spend a lot of time working with our constituents, people in our community, on training them for the jobs that are available in the Los Angeles County area. And it's not just available, we're looking for good jobs, jobs that give people a future. It's been exciting to see the transformation that happens when a person is able to get a high-paying job. I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. My parents were educators. At the age of 9, we moved to Los Angeles. My parents were always in the fight. They sent me to Westchester High School. I was one of 7 African-American students at Westchester High at that time. After graduating from Westchester High, I went to Loyola Marymount, and from there was able to get into Harvard Law School. Leadership is about being comfortable enough to take a position and move with it. You have to be comfortable with your decision, whatever it is. 2022 and beyond, the next 100 years, that's what we're preparing for. We are standing on the shoulders of giants who have gotten us this far. Make no mistake. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. I want to thank SCLN for this amazing award. I am proud of what we've been able to do, and I'm excited about what we're going to do. I will look at this and know that my work isn't done. Thank you.
Michael, congratulations. And our final Visionaries Award honoree is Keisha Nix. Keisha is the Executive Director for the Lakers Youth Foundation for her leadership in support of our region's future through assisting underserved youth in developing and recognizing their full potential. Keisha is also an alum of Leadership Ballet class of 2014.
I'm a servant leader, and I'm proud to be a servant leader. I will never ask someone to do something that I'm not willing to do. My name is Keisha Nix, and I am the Executive Director of the Los Angeles Lakers Youth Foundation. The Los Angeles Lakers Youth Foundation is the charitable arm of the Los Angeles Lakers. Our mission is to provide resources and opportunities to youth in the areas of sports, health and wellness, and education. COVID has definitely impacted us all, and it has been very challenging, especially for me and for my staff, because we're so used to being in the community. And that's been really challenging. But at the same time, we have learned how to pivot. My grandparents raised me, and they were pillars of our community. And so they were the first community advocates, community leaders that I ever saw. I wanted to really emulate them. They were, again, my first mentors, and they will always be my mentors. Hard work is the great equalizer. I tell people to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. It's not a weakness. The smartest people, the strongest people ask for help. Hard work and helpfulness and being together are just things that I live by. I am a native Angelino, born and raised here, South LA, South Central LA. And my family, as far back as I know, have always been Laker fans. I mean, I literally have to pinch myself sometimes that this is really a reality. This is happening. Just knowing that I get to do things that actually change lives on a daily basis. It's a huge responsibility, but it's one that I embrace. Again, every now and then I have to remind myself that this really is a job, because it's a lot of fun. Oh, wow. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. I would just like to thank SCLN for this amazing award. SCLN, there's nothing like it. It's a family, and that's what this is all about. Just being a humble servant and being able to change lives and make a difference. And that's what SCLN does. They change lives, and I thank them for changing mine.
Congratulations again to all of our deserving honorees, and thank you for continuing to provide real leadership to our community. It makes a difference, particularly right now in such chaotic times. In my job, it's so important, the stories that I tell, because I focus on people that make a difference, and I know the difference it makes to highlight their stories. And today is a perfect example of why I love my work. I am delighted to get to celebrate these role models and to moderate a conversation among such extraordinary people doing extraordinary things and making the world a better place when we need it most. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to start with a question for all of you, and it's about your leadership style, your stealth leadership style. How would you define how you lead? What comes easily to you and what has been most challenging? Keisha, let's start with you.
My leadership style is definitely servant leader. I'm a servant leader, and I'm very proud of that. And what comes easy to me, I just feel as though I was a born leader. In times of trouble, challenge, I just react. And I almost do better in those times when my back is against the wall. Those are the times that my leadership really just, comes to flight. And I appreciate that. But then it's also challenging because I tend to not know when to stop. I don't know how to say no. That is one of the most challenging words in the English language for me, is to say no. I have to realize that I'm equipped with others that can help, and I need to learn how to delegate. And so just kind of, that balancing that is really challenging. I love it, and I love helping, and I love just digging in. And being the servant leader means that I give leadership, but I'm also there. I'm not just giving orders or giving direction, but I'm actually serving as well. And so in all these years, I haven't learned how to balance, but I will. I will one day.
It's interesting when you use that word, servant leader, because it is somehow emblematic of being fueled and driven by conviction, almost faith. Is that what fuels your leadership?
I am a strong Christian woman. My life is based on faith. These principles were instilled in me as just a young child. My grandparents instilled that in me. And it's something that I rely on. My family, my friends, my colleagues, my community, they look to me for leadership. And so at those times, I need to be strong. And there are other times that I don't have to be. But in those times, I want to be strong. I want to be there for them.
Mr. Michael Lawson, you do so much with the Urban League, and not just the Urban League, in all of your leadership roles professionally and in your civic life. What drives your leadership, and how would you define what's easy and what's tough?
I've seen people freeze because they were afraid of making the wrong decision. And I've learned over the years that the worst thing you can do is not make a decision. It doesn't matter. If you make the wrong decision, you can fix that. But the important thing for the people that you are serving is that you make one. So I am not afraid to make a decision, and I'm not afraid to be told that that decision was the wrong one.
There's the urgency of now, particularly in underserved brown and black communities, and that is what fuels you, the inequities, is that right?
There is no question about it. We have been fighting this fight for centuries, and I see myself as just a present-day version of what our forefathers and foremothers were doing. This battle has been going on, and it will continue because it's not going to be, we're not going to solve this right away. We're going to have to continue to fight, and people, and generations after us will continue to fight this. The fact of the matter is, I've seen the progress. I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. My sisters, my two older sisters, were on the list of being one of the Little Rock Nine. They weren't, but
they could have been.
They could have been. I saw a state that, instead of integrating the schools, shut down the schools for 2 years. Basically said, we'll shoot ourselves in the head before we allow this to happen. As a black teenager growing up in Los Angeles, whenever I was out in my car at night, I knew I was going to be stopped. We knew that the police were going to act a certain way. We knew what we had to do in order to make our way back home alive. We are in a better place than we were. What we're seeing now is, with social media, it's getting out there, so more people are seeing it. but this is not new.
So what challenges you most leading during this chaos and this division in this country?
The division in this country has always been there. It is now, it's open.
It's in broad daylight.
It's in broad daylight. We are having an opportunity to have conversation and discourse. But make no mistake, we are better off than we were 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And I am doing this work because this is what our parents did. And as someone said to me, I am here because somebody I don't know sacrificed for me. They did what needed to be done in order to move us to the next level. That's why being president of Los Angeles Urban League is so important. And making sure that this organization remains viable is so critically important, because there are so many people that need this organization. We're doing this for people that have not yet been born. And we do it not for the exposure. We do it not to get our names in the paper. We do it because we know that there is someone who is going to benefit from this.
And Daria, you know, in one of the most valuable spaces right now, impact investing, conscious capital, making sure equitable access to capital, it is so important, especially for women and women who are underserved. What are your biggest strengths as a leader in this space, and what are your biggest challenges?
I always feel like if there's something that you see that needs to be done, it's incumbent on each individual to find a way to create change around it. I think it's so important for all of us to really feel that urgency, feel that passion to act. Whatever if you try to find a solution and act on it, that's at least something, instead of waiting for others to do the job of creating the action. I see the opportunity for change, and because I'm a math-oriented person, I calculate the rate of change often, and it can get frustrating to see the slow pace of the rate of change. And so, thinking about the world that we're leaving for our children, if you project that forward and you take the rate of change, you see that their world will be only a little better than your world, right? And so that's frustrating.
Do you feel an extra sense of urgency now in what you do to convince the financial world to get on board and create more access to capital, to make sure the big brands and the big law firms that you've dealt with, the Obama administration, this man helped get Obama elected president 2 times, but also when he was just a senator at the state level in Chicago, you work with one of the greatest legacies in sports, my friend, and the foundation. So you have powerful brands and histories to bring forth to your leadership. Do you sense an urgency right now that you haven't before?
Yes, definitely. We have to seize this moment. These are unprecedented times that we are in, with COVID, with social injustice, with civic engagement. These are not things that are new to us, as Michael expounded on, but they are coming to us in a way that they've never come before. And so while we are fighting for equality, it means that we have to fight just as hard. So as opposed to fighting twice as hard, now I'm fighting 3 times as hard, because I have the attention of who needs to pay attention. And so if we don't seize these moments, it's almost like the changing of the tide. Next month or next year, something else will come to the forefront. And I can't waste this. I've waited for this moment. Things that I am able to bring to the forefront, programs I'm able to activate, I may not have been able to do that 5 years ago. Now it's acceptable. It should have been acceptable then, but now I have the attention of the decision makers, of the companies, of the sports franchises. Sports is a universal language, and we are now making strides. As Michael said, I'm happy to see progress. We are nowhere near where we need to be, but let's recognize that we are making some progress and let's capitalize on that. So I don't want to take advantage of, but I want to seize the moment, and I want to take it as far and as high as it can go. And if we don't dig down and do that right now, and I may not see the success, my son, his children, it may be generations before the seeds that I am planting now are harvested, but I know that I am planting those seeds.
Well, and sports, the sports world stepped in where government leaders did not in social justice, Black Lives Matter. You really played a powerful role, and I'm sure that trickled down to the foundation.
Oh, it did. I mean, and I was so excited to be able to see all 30 basketball and NBA teams open their doors for civic engagement, not to mention, hockey and football and baseball, but to stand there myself personally in the wake of a pandemic, knowing that there was no vaccination in sight, but I literally put my life on the line to make sure someone felt safe in voting. That was probably one of the most humbling experiences as a leader that I've ever had. Just knowing that we usually never take a stand on politics, but the Lakers organization, we came together and we supported 2 bills because it was important to us, and those bills passed into legislation, and one was about minors having their Miranda rights. And why did we choose to do that? Because I had developed a program of courageous conversation just a couple months prior, and we watched tough films and we talked about them. And one was When They See Us. And so we learned what happens when youth do not get their rights. And so when the bill came before us, for the first time in the history of our organization, we said we want to back this. These are things that, again, have never happened before. We will someday be in a history book. I'm not looking forward to that day, but doing the work and not just talking the talk and seeing major sports franchise owners on the front line, kneeling with us, holding hands with us. This is something that we've never experienced, and we are so far away from completion, but we have to recognize we've come a long way.
And that is one of the silver linings. And Michael, fundraising for the Urban League and leading during these times and getting the the West Side to say what happens on the East Side is also a part of us. Is that one of the biggest challenges, or has the pandemic and the amplification of inequities really brought this city together in ways you haven't seen before?
When George Floyd was murdered, and it was broadcast throughout the world, and you saw the entire world stand up and say, this is wrong. That was a shift that, quite frankly, I didn't expect to see, because growing up in Los Angeles, that has happened throughout the years with LAPD. LAPD is not necessarily what it was in the 60s, but it still needs to be changed. And you have to understand that I remember when Chief Parker had a press conference where he was responding to an article in the LA Times that accused LAPD of killing so many Black citizens in Los Angeles. And he called a press conference to basically say this article is wrong. I have the statistics to show you. Last year, we killed 400 Black residents and 400 white residents. That was his response. That was LAPD. That's not LAPD now, but what happened with the George Floyd murder was a recognition by the entire world that this is going on. And so we need to use this to basically tell the world this is really happening. And we've been talking about this for decades, for years, and you didn't want to believe it. And now that you believe it, what are you going to do? I have to say that I am appreciative of the response that not just foundations, but corporations showed in response to that. The key is that we have to keep this moving, because it's not just about funding organizations like ours. It's about changing the character of this country. And so it can't stop with just the check. It has to be, as you mentioned earlier, changing the dynamic, the color, the character, the sex of the C-suite, of the boardrooms, and because those conversations have to be had, because otherwise you're talking in an echo chamber, and there's no one to say, no, that's wrong. We have done this for our entire careers. Yes. So we were the ones in the law firms, in whatever organization we were in, saying the things that no one wanted to hear. And sometimes we lost promotions because of that. But we did it anyway because it was the right thing to do.
And Daria, when you think of supporting and growing new leadership and empowering, let's say, women in your initiatives, what do you look for in a leader? Do you look for that kind of conviction? Do you look for that kind of bold capacity to stand up and speak truth to power? What else do you look for?
Absolutely. I think that what is so important is passion, conviction, authenticity, but really the opportunity to create solutions is really at hand, right? The capital is there, right? So for me, the challenge is, for example, in my day job, I call it at Morgan Stanley, or with Women Founders Network, what we're trying to do. When you look at the data historically, women's access to capital has been 2-3%. If you're Latina or Black, less than 1%. And that's a problem, right? If you think that money can create solutions, when you talk to women investors in the United States, women control $10 trillion of capital in the United States. And I love to talk about this because I don't understand personally, why do we have the equity issues that we have when women control the levers on $10 trillion of capital growing to 30 by the end of the decade, right? So if you talk to women in the United States, they will tell you that we care about racial equity predominantly, 70%, We care about gender equity. We care about climate change. We care about governance issues like women on boards and women pay equity and women leaders at companies and all that. 70% of we've done surveys and others have done surveys, 70% care about that. Okay, so if you care about it, if you have passion about it, if you want to create change on it, and you control $10 trillion, mind you, the net worth of most countries in the world is less than $1 trillion. The GDP of the United States and China, I often cite, is 35 trillion. Global GDP, 85 trillion, right? So if women in the United States control $10 trillion, and they will control $30 trillion down the road, and they care about racial equity, gender equity, why do they not create the change? The people who have the money, we all know, can call the shots. People with the money call the shots. So why do women who predominantly care about these issues in our world not believe that they can create the world they want to see with their capital? So that's what I try to do. I try to educate women about that. It's baffling to me why it is so hard to get that action, because women are different when it comes to their money and their role in our society and their role in the family, and all the data shows that. That's why diverse leadership brings better outcomes when you have more diversity in leadership of organizations, right? But yet, when it comes to the outcomes, we know everything we see in our world, in our country, is the result of economic decisions at some level, right? And women have the capital to control those economic decisions, and yet we don't. So my thing on it is to try to educate women, raise the question, and to some extent empower them to understand that they hold the lever.
And then how to leverage that power. I always say for Latinas who are in 80% of Latino households in America, we are the breadwinners, we control what goes in the minds, the mouths of the all-important millennial generation, and yet somos como una abuela detrás de un Ferrari. We're like a grandmother driving a Ferrari. We don't know how to pedal to the metal and use our power. And that is the challenge of leadership today, especially when Latinos, control, they're the super consumers and control huge buying power, and yet we don't leverage that buying power. God bless Dolores Huerta and the boycott, because she moved that needle by leveraging her purchasing power. Last question, I think, when people look at leaders who are maverick in their fields, they want to know, first, who is your role model? Who inspired you? And what would you say to future leaders out there who think, hey, I came from Arkansas, or, I came from a poor family, or I'm from some projects, what voice do I have? What would you say to them? First, your role model, Keisha, and then how would you, just a nugget of inspiration for those leaders, future leaders out there.
My grandparents were my first role models. My grandparents were my parents. They raised me, and they raised me in South Central Los Angeles on a fixed income. And they were, not rich at all, but they were very rich in spirit. And they were rich in our community, and they were leaders in our community. And I never understood why everyone came to our home, why they fed everyone, why they helped everyone. But they did. And they took stands that I now reflect on. They ran the voting polls. And when I got of age, it wasn't a question whether you were going to vote. Are you voting here, or are you voting over there? Where are you voting? Because you're going to vote. They ran the block clubs, and they had positions at church, and they did food giveaways. And so the spirit, I embody their spirit just on a daily basis, because I saw people, these two people who didn't have a lot, but they made it seem like they had so much. I thought we were rich until I was in, 8th grade. I didn't even realize we were really low income, because they provided such a good life for me. And I was blessed to have one of them until she was 90 years old, and just lost her a few years ago. So I embody their spirit at all times. And then the second part of that, what I would say to future leaders coming up, one of my mentors, Magic Johnson, says that your network is your net worth. And so you really have to surround yourself with the people that you want to become. If you're the smartest person in the group, you need a new group. If you're the wealthiest person in that group, or the most accomplished, I don't know that I really want to be in that group. I mean, yes, you can be a great leader, but who are you leading? I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to step outside of your box, step outside of your comfort zone, and really pay attention to who you spend your time with. And it's okay to emulate someone. We always say that's the, best form of flattery, to imitate someone. I am about sharing best practices. I'm learning here on the panel today from Michael and Daria. I'm excited about what I've heard them say. Doesn't mean I'm going to go back and take a blueprint of what they're doing, but I'm getting some nuggets that I can go back and use. And that's what I want our future leaders to see. The work that we're doing in the community should be a collaboration. It's not a competition. Competitions do happen on the court, on the field, in the boxing ring, in the swimming pool. Those are competitions. But the work that we do as community leaders and advocates is a collaboration. And that's why I can come together with other NBA teams. They can call me and I can share, and vice versa. Here in Los Angeles, we've created the LA Alliance. 11 major sports teams. We're all together as one. We leave everything else out there, and we come together and we figure out solutions for the youth in our city.
And putting money where your mouth is. It's a pretty brilliant alliance, doing really great things. And Michael, who is your role model?
I have to say my parents. My father was born on a farm in Troop, Texas, and yet he was a professor at Philander Smith College in Little Rock, Arkansas. He was working on his master's degree. My mother was there as well, so to grow up on a college campus, just one generation from being on a farm, and his quiet way of teaching was just absolutely amazing. But I saw his many failures, not because he wasn't able to do it, but because the system wouldn't allow him to do it. And yet he never looked defeated because he was fighting this fight. And the fact that he had 4 children who were doing extremely well was his prize. We've got 4 children, all of whom graduated college.
And not just any college.
Not just any college. Two of us made it through Harvard Law School. To be where we are, knowing where we came from, and to have done it in a way where we weren't, for a minute, taught to believe that this was something that was impossible. It was always taught to us that we could achieve anything. You have to be in this environment still twice as good as your white counterparts. And what I tell them is, it's not that hard to do.
Humor is a great tenet of leadership.
I love that. That's great.
But also, humor is satire when it has some truth to it. Daria, how about you? Who are your role models?
I was raised by a sorority of women. And so I'm Iranian, born in Iran. And so my grandmother, my mom, and her 4 sisters were mighty women. So my grandma, when in Iran, at the time, they didn't let girls go to school. But my great-grandfather basically wrapped his girls up and packaged them as boys and made a deal with the headmaster of the school so that his 3 daughters could go to school until they reached the age of puberty. So that was my grandmother. And she was an intellectual all her life. And so she raised 5 mighty girls, and one of them passed away somewhat younger. But so I was raised by my mom, who basically was a single mom early on. She got married very young and went to university while she was working in Iran and got a Fulbright scholarship to come to the United States. Wow. So she's a pretty mighty woman. And so, those were the people that inspired me in terms of leadership. And then, in terms of, I think about the fact that, my kids, do they look at my husband and I as, their inspiration? And I think it's a challenging time for young people to be inspired to lead. And so it's really a hard job to go back to the younger people and try to inspire them to be focused on ideas and on change and community rather than on things and appearances and money, right? So I think it's incumbent on all of us as adults to try to teach that to our kids so that they can have passion, be mission-oriented and community-oriented as they grow up.
Well, what an extraordinary conversation with 3 titans in our community here in Southern California. I understand why you're the 2021 Visionaries for the Southern California Leadership Network. So it's time now to celebrate. We thank the network. We thank all of our partners and sponsors and all of you who are watching and hopefully inspired. And there's lots of lessons to take away here, to be bold and to make a difference with your own innate leadership qualities that we know that you have. So thank you for joining us. It's time to celebrate, and we hope that you'll mix and mingle with us virtually. On behalf of the Southern California Leadership Network, thank you so much for being with us today. We wish you all happiness, good health. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next time.